Death, destruction, and yes, a few radroaches too. That is pretty much all Vault 111 has to offer after you wake up from a 210-year nap in Fallout 4's prologue. But what on earth happened to everyone working here while you were on ice? Well, it's a tale of division, fear, and ultimately, conflict. Let's take a look. On October the 23rd, 2077, the USA is hit by nuclear detonations, and you, your partner, your infant son, Sean, and other local residents are herded towards Vault 111. Once inside, you are ushered into these pods and told this.
The pod will decontaminate and depressurize you before we head deeper in the vault. Just relax.
But this scientist is lying. This is not a decontamination chamber, it is actually a cryopod, and you are being frozen as part of a Vault-Tec experiment.
Procedure complete. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
When you eventually thaw out in the year 2287, the vault is pretty much deserted. And while you wander around searching for a way out, you seem nonplussed about the whole situation.
What happened here? Where is everyone? Is this all that's left? Is anyone alive? Did anyone get out?
But fortunately, a couple of terminals, one found in the Overseer's office and the other in a security office, can help to fill in the blanks. According to these terminals, Vault 111 was designed to test the long-term effects of suspended animation on unaware human subjects. Vault-Tec would monitor hazards such as radiation levels, enemy invasion, subsequent attacks, and other factors. And once conditions were deemed safe, the Vault would receive an all-clear notice. Vault-Tec personnel could then be evacuated at the discretion of the Overseer. If an all-clear message was not received, the Overseer could choose to evacuate staff after a mandatory shelter period of 180 days. That was the plan anyway, but it is safe to say that things did not go well for those working in Vault 111. The security logs would appear to show that there were divisions between the scientists and the security team from the get-go. This entry from the very day the bombs dropped states that the scientists tried to explain that keeping the residents frozen was part of a big experiment designed to help create a better future.
I don't know.
It says,
It just doesn't seem right that we were smiling at them all that time before putting them on ice. Shouldn't we have told them something?
This division is highlighted once again in an entry from Christmas Day, barely 2 months later. It states that the security and support staff got together for a party, but neither the scientists nor the Overseer showed up. This particular entry also hints that feelings of fear and paranoia were beginning to creep in.
I just don't get them.
It says,
Are they hiding something from us? Another company secret only for the higher-ups?
Later on, with the end of the 180-day mandatory shelter period approaching and food supplies running out, the situation was clearly taking its toll. A security log entry from the middle of March describes everyone as getting stir-crazy, with some saying the all-clear signal was never coming.
The Overseer keeps telling everyone to be patient, focus on work.
The entry adds,
He's definitely keeping us out of the loop. Something bad is going on, I just know it.
It looks like things began to come to a head the following month. According to an entry from April the 23rd, a meeting was organised between the security and support staff.
Sounds like I'm not the only one with an axe to grind.
It says, the Overseer's terminal shows that while all of this was going on, the head honcho was also becoming increasingly concerned. One entry, entitled Supplies Running Low, says that if people thought they could just leave when the 180 days were up, they were insane.
Radioactive exposure would still be potent enough to fight everyone if the vault seals had breached that early.
It adds, the Overseer goes on to say that the whole point of the all-clear was to receive additional information from the main office.
Don't know what to do.
It adds,
I can't open the vault. I can't expect our supplies to last forever. I just have to keep everything under control until the all clear.
Eventually, however, it would seem that the pressure became too much. The Overseer's final log entry, entitled Mutiny, says that a faction led by the security personnel decided to confront him about opening up the vault.
Idiots.
It says,
"I will not open the door to be irradiated to death out there."
According to the final security log entry, the Overseer subsequently locked himself in his office along with the rest of the science staff. He also demanded the others hand over any food, weapons or medicine they had, or face the consequences. The entry's final sentence shows how the security and support staff responded to that.
"I've talked to everyone.
It says,
It's time. One way or another, we're getting out of this vault."
there is no information regarding what happened after that, but there are some hints. For example, it is fair to assume that this skeleton found in the Overseer's office is that of the Vault's leader himself. Another skeleton found by the entrance has a Pip-Boy that you have to pick up and use before you can leave. The scientist who guided you to your cryopod 210 years previously was the only person with such a device on their wrist, so I don't think it's too much of a stretch to suggest that this is his body. Lastly, it is noticeable that the number of skeletons inside the vault in 2287 is much less than the number of staff members working there when you first arrive. This would suggest that at least some people were able to get out and make their way to the surface. Whether they were able to survive the irradiated wasteland that greeted them there, however, is another matter entirely.